Okay, so we're going to come for Baddha Konasana now, and we're again going to use our 4 foam pads. So I'll just move out of the way so you can see what I've done there. So I've got my 4 foam pads against the wall, and I put the blanket over the top with a little bit of blanket in front so that my feet are not too pressured with this. You need to have a belt and a brick. Now if you don't have a belt or a brick, don't worry about it. You can just sit with your back to the wall and work in the Baddha Konasana in this way. Okay, so we're going to take a brick. If you have one, you can always put a foam pad there if you don't have a brick, and if you don't have a foam pad, just put your feet together. Or you could put a book or something there if you've got a book. You have to be a little bit creative if you haven't got the equipment. So I'm putting the belt underneath the outer edges of my feet, and then drawing everything back. So if you have knee problems, your feet will be further forwards than this, and that is not a problem because you need that extra space if your knees are difficult. So you can see that I've just put that belt so that I can hold on to it, and then shifted myself back so that again the sacrum is against the wall and my heels are coming in as much as possible towards those foam pads. Now you might find that if your hips are tight, if your groins are tight, that your knees are kind of right up here. In that case, it's better to lift yourself up a little bit more. So stop the video, go and get a bolster and put on top of here. If you have got extra blankets, you can put them on, just so that you can build up the height of the seat behind you. And sometimes you need quite a high support with this. Certainly when I started in yoga, I most definitely did. Okay, so when you hold on to your belt, you can just open from your inner groin to your inner knee and breathe and hold the belt. So sometimes in this pose we just have to stay here and see if we can release into it. So you press your feet evenly into your brick or your foam pad or your book, whatever you've got there. If you're holding a belt, then you can hold onto the belt. If you haven't got a belt, you could always use a tea towel or something around the feet for this action. Roll the shoulders back. If you've got a wall behind you, you can roll your shoulders back to the wall. Keep pressing the feet evenly into that brick. So I'm just moving my brick back a little bit so I can press the heels into it more. And the heels are very important in this action for opening up the groins. So we press into the brick, lift the chest, open in the groins, and release the abdomen back towards the spine. So let your eyes close for a moment and observe the breathing pattern. Fine inhalation, fine exhalation. Alright, and releasing. So we're going to stretch the legs out into Dandasana now. So they might be a bit reluctant to move, so extend them out, straighten the legs, extend into the inner heels. We're going to come for Upavistha Konasana now. So I'm just going to show you. We're doing this still on our height and with our backs to the wall. I'm just bringing another mat in towards me because That way I can have my heels on the sticky mat. So you're going to take your feet wide. Once you're in position with the legs wide, then you have your sacrum back against the wall, and I want you to have a belt close by. All right, so sitting with your back to the wall, sacrum against the wall, from Dandasana, take the legs out, either one at a time or both together. And see, I'm having a little bit of logistical problems with this extra mat here. And it might be that you need to move your mat forwards so that you can get your feet onto it, because it's quite a wide stride if you've got your mat right against the wall here. Okay, so once you're in position with your belt close by, the backs of your thighs should be supported by those foam pads. Look at your kneecaps. Your kneecaps need to be facing the ceiling. So we have to lift the kneecaps from here, draw them up in this direction. All right, so the kneecaps are not pushing down in towards the floor. The thighs, right at the top of the thighs, that's pushing down. The kneecaps are lifting in this direction. So stretch into your inner heels, have your toes pointing towards the ceiling, and then extend your heels, the backs of your heels away from you, and draw your toes towards you. Roll your shoulders back towards the wall. Keep your abdomen back towards the spine, but don't try and flatten your spine to the wall, because there will be a natural lumbar curve in this. Now, for those of you who find this really a challenging pose, you can bring the legs a little closer together before we do the arm actions. So if it's really a difficult action for you, bring the legs a little closer together. You can always do this sitting onto the front of the seat of a chair, so you're lifted much higher. It gives you the action without letting the spinal column collapse. So if you're finding that you're really having difficulty lifting your spine up, then do this on the front of the seat of a chair. So we're going to take the belt and we're going to just double it up and hold it. So again, you can use a tea towel for this. If you have a shoulder problem, take the hands wider. If you don't have a shoulder problem, you can see that when I have my arms down, they're uncomfortable. They're a little bit too close to the sides of my chest. So lift here through your frontal pelvic bones. Don't let your belly drop towards the floor. Inhale, pull on the belt and extend the arms. Let the shoulder blades release down. Abdomen back towards the spine, pulling on your belt. So if you need to have the arms wide, you've got the arms wide, that's fine. If the arms don't come back as far as the wall, that is also fine. Okay, with resistance, pull on the belt as you come back out of the action. Well done. So we're going to bring the legs together into Dandasana again. Okay, so we're going to come into a Virasana action, sitting onto a brick. Now, if this is difficult for you, you sit up much higher. You can have 4 foam pads, whatever you need to sit on. But we're going to, for those who are able to, take a brick between the heels, have the knees and the inner thighs together, pull on the calf flesh so that we can sit down into our Virasana in that way. Now the kneecaps need to be facing forwards like headlights, and the central plane of the thighs needs to be facing the ceiling. So I'll give you some instructions on that when we go into it. Okay, so get yourself your brick. If you need to, you can always put foam pads underneath that brick. If there's any discomfort in the knees, then you need to come higher. There's no question about it. So we're coming into this. Knees and thighs are together. The brick comes between your inner ankles. And make sure that your feet are going straight back. Then Put your fingers in behind the knee joint and pull the calf flesh out to the side and sit down. Then use your fingers and open out in your toes. So we're trying to get that breadth and broadness across the sole of the foot on each side. Now, if you have a look at your knees and inner thighs should be together. The kneecaps should be facing forwards, all right? So it's like a pair of headlights, but it can be quite difficult to get that if you probably can't see this because I'm wearing black leggings, but there I'm letting my thighs roll in and my kneecaps have started to also rotate inwards. So the way that we stop doing that is by gripping the brick with the inner ankles and pressing down with the fronts of the feet, and then moving those outer ankles in and pressing down with the little toe side of the foot. So we're just going to lift and lengthen here on the shin bone and skin so that we've got more of the front of the shin in contact with the floor. Often when we start in our yoga practice, the shin is very distant from the floor because of stiffness in the ankles, and you get a very big gap underneath your shins. It just takes a little while before the ankles become more flexible and can do this. Okay, so you're pressing down with the outer shins, you're pressing down with the little toe side, you're moving in with the outer ankle. Roll your shoulders back and down. We're going to come into Virasana arms. So I'm just going to show this. Now it might be that your arms come like this and you just press, or it may be that you can wrap your arms over. It's not a competition to see who can get the arms wrapped the furthest. You can get just as good an action by just pressing the upper arms together. Alright, so take the upper arms up, let the shoulder blades release down, lift your right arm up and take it over the top of your left arm, and then see, can you cross as much as possible and push those arms away from one another. So you're making contact with those upper arms and opening out in the shoulder joints. Now if you can fold into the Virasana action, that's fine, but don't get too caught up in that. That's not the point of the pose. So those who wrap very easily like this, you lift your elbows and move your thumbs away from you. But the main action is pushing your arms towards one another to get the opening in the back of the shoulders. So don't overdo, it's quite a strong pose. Breathe, and now releasing. Just roll your shoulders back and down, take the arms up again, take the left arm over the top of the right arm and press those arms together. So your left upper arm presses against your right lower arm to get some movement and action. And then if you're able to, you can wrap. So you'll probably find that one side does it a little more comfortably than the other. For those, as I say, who've got this action where you're wrapping, then you have to make something happen. So you press your arms against one another, lift your elbows and move your thumbs away from the face. If you're just working in this action, then you're just pressing the arms against one another. It might be that the arms don't come that far and you're here, but again, you can press those lower arms against one another and get that action in the shoulders. You won't miss out with that. All right, releasing, roll your shoulders back and down and lift your chest. So we're going to come forwards into Adho Mukha Virasana. Hopefully you've got your other brick quite handy here, because we are going to come forwards. If you've got a lot of height behind you, it may be best to take your head onto the seat of a chair. But I'm just going to show. From here, we've got the feet going straight back and we're keeping this abdomen back, keeping these frontal pelvic bones lifted so that we can extend the forehead onto the brick, and you're going to spider your fingers like that. Okay, so let's do that together. Just lift up again for a moment and shift back so that you can feel the front of your sitting bones on that brick, and move the abdomen back towards your spine. From here, you're hinging at the hips, press down with the outer shins, press down with the outer edges of the feet, move the outer ankles in, walk the fingers forward, so you're spidering your fingers, walk the fingers forwards and extend just the forehead onto your brick. Make sure that it's centered, and then you can flatten your palms and let your breath settle. So the firmness of the brick is really quite nice on the forehead. If you suffer from headaches, this is really a very nice pose to do. Let the shoulder blades release down towards the back waist. Be broad across your collarbones. Let the eyes soften and relax. Alright, so we're going to come up into a Dandasana action, so slowly coming up out of the pose. You're going to swing your legs, sit back onto your brick. You may need to take some of that support out if you've got a higher support for your Virasana, and stretch your legs out in front of you. Just pull the flesh of the buttocks out and back. It's a little bit wobbly sitting on this brick, but sit right forwards on the brick so that you can feel your sitting bones on it. Extend into your inner heels. Just have a look at your feet. You may find that your feet have gone a little bit pink from having been compressed in that action. This is very good for them. It does open out the ankles. It starts to tone the feet and the ankles, and it's good for knees as long as you're working without discomfort. So just press the fingers down, extend the crown of the head up, and stretch into your inner heels and draw your toes towards you. So we're going to come again into a Baddha Konasana action, but this time we are working towards a wall. Okay, so you can see here that I've got my foam pads against the wall. You could use a bolster or a pillow here, and I'm just fanning my toes against the wall. If you need to have a blanket under your head, you can take a blanket under your head, but you can see I can get quite close to the foam pads. Now I've got that little bit of support from the wall, and then just wriggle in a little more so that I'm coming into this action. Now, some of you will be able to take the arms over the head and feel very comfortable with that. It might be that you can fold the arms in that way. For some of you, this is not going to be comfortable because of shoulder issues, so you can just bring your arms down by the side. So I'm going to do with my arms folded in that way. Okay, so let's do that together. So get your equipment set up, either a set of foam pads or a bolster against the wall. Your toes are fanning out against the wall, so you're just pushing those out. Bring the heels together if you can get those together. Recline back. When you recline back, you'll find that you come back further away from your foam pads, so you have to wriggle in at that point. Get yourself in as much as possible. Press the heel bones together. See, can you get all 10 of your toe pads touching the wall as they're spreading out? And then you can hold on to the inner elbows or take the arms back. When you take the arms back, if indeed you are, make sure that you're not popping your ribs forwards and upwards when you do that. All right, so you're using the flexibility in the shoulders and not any over flexibility in the lumbar to get this opening in the shoulder region and the armpit region. Allow the eyes to close and the breath to flow. Now it might be that you need to bring your knees together from time to time because there's tightness in the groins. If you have knee problems, you almost certainly will need to be further away from the wall than I'm showing here. I mean, it might be that you have to support the outer thighs with some rolled blankets or cushions just until you get a little bit more opening in the hips. Let the abdomen be soft. And observe if you're holding any tension at the back of the pelvis, around the spinal region. Those who've got the arms crossed, bring them up, change the cross of the arms, and take them back again. So just enjoy it if you're able to. But if it's very uncomfortable on your groins, then bring your knees together. All right, bring the arms back up. Bring the knees together. Roll to your right and come up.